So you want to learn how to speedrun Donkey Kong Country 2 for the Super Nintendo. I approve, but the version of DKC2 you need to acquire actually depends on which category you would like to learn. Typically, categories that include wrong warps, such as any percent and true ending, are played on the 1.1 version of DKC2, since the majority of wrong warps are exclusive to that version. Categories in which wrong warps are either banned or not useful, such as warpless and 102%, are played on the 1.0 version due to some additional glitches that will be available to you. If you try to execute a wrong warp on 1.0, this happens. So what else is different between 1.0 and 1.1? First off, the camera. Notice how the movement between both takes is essentially the same, but the fact that your y-axis position is lower in one of those instances punishes you. A small difference on 1.0 concerns Kong swapping. Pressing a direction quickly right before swapping will cause your active Kong to quote-unquote slide back, which can be used to clip walls and potentially save time. For example, this one used in Chainlink Chamber is a strategy used in both Warpless and 102%. Then the bosses, namely Crow, Creepy Crow, and King Zing, which are much slower on 1.0 compared to 1.1. Those fights will definitely require adjustments if you bounce between runs done on different versions. There's also a soft lock potential on Creepy Crow that comes from playing on 1.0. Be extra careful to not take damage on those climbing sections. Oddly enough, the Crockhead's hitboxes are slightly different between versions. Another interesting difference is the Engar barrel in Arctic Abyss. It's positioned slightly higher on 1.1, which allows you to slide under it without any issues. On 1.0, you can't swim under it, but Diddy can swim over it. As a result of that, the setup for Arctic Zip, which can be executed on both versions, will be different between them. Now we're moving on to arguably the two most broken levels in the game, Castle Crush and Fiery Furnace. On 1.0, you can get another jump off after your Kong returns to you after a team throw, and by combining this with another glitch, you can jump an infinite number of times as long as you're holding the B button. And doing so will gain you height faster than the Crusher would, and will save you a tremendous amount of time in the Warpless category, at your own risk. In Fiery Furnace, you can go out of bounds with steerable barrels on 1.0, which is trivial to do in the bonus, but can also be done in the main level by executing a glitch that will put your barrel in a permanent steerable state, similar to the bonus's barrel. Once the setup is complete, hold left to go out of bounds, and this happens. Also, those steerable barrels shoot you further on 1.1, but that's way less cool to talk about. Now, the way to recognize which version you have if you play on an actual Super Nintendo is to look for the engraved characters on the back of your cart. Any two numbers means that this is a 1.0 cart, and any two numbers followed by the letter A means that this is a 1.1 cart. If you play on Virtual Console, whether it be on the Wii, the Wii U, or the Switch, DKC2's version will always be 1.1. Keep in mind though that for the DKC games on the Super Nintendo, leaderboards for Virtual Console runs are set apart from physical console runs. So now that the differences between 1.0 and 1.1 have been covered, what about English versus Japanese? So it's been proven a while ago that the game actually loads very slightly faster on the Japanese version. Over the course of an 90% speedrun, you can potentially save a whopping 1 to 2 seconds on loading screens alone, which on paper makes the Japanese 1.1 version the optimal version to do any percent speedruns on. I don't know what the heck this guy right here is doing. Aside from that, you have two particular sections in two different levels, those levels being Bramble Scramble and Haunted Hall. In the Japanese version, those sections will contain less bees and therefore will be easier to navigate through. But once again, this is going to depend on the category you will be playing. For example, you will only encounter those Bramble Scramble bees in categories that don't make use of the wrong warp in that level. Meaning in an 80% run, it shouldn't matter because you shouldn't even see that part of the level. On the other hand, the Haunted Hall bees are absent from the 102% speedrun, since you need to go through the bonus located below that section. And finally, it is worth noting that the English 1.0 version of DKC2 is, to put it mildly, complete garbage. Here's why. Doing this particular damage boost strat in Windy Well will lock your camera, and despite retaining control of your Kong, you won't be able to make progress, or worse, you might end up soft locking your game. This is a very common strategy in DKC2 speedruns, and this version is the only one picky enough to force you to go all the way around instead. In this version, the crockheads are extremely finicky, and if you land on them at the wrong time, your Kong will just clip through. And here's the last one for you. You can't even Beetle Clash with Diddy on this version. You can still do it with Dixie, but for whatever reason, Diddy just can't get it to work. Hey, thanks for watching, gamers. This is my first time working on one of those informative videos. Let me know what you guys thought of it. It took a while to release, but it was a lot of fun to work on. If you guys enjoyed it, please drop a like, please subscribe to the channel, more content to come, and as always, keep on rolling deep.